Hello everyone, this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be doing another top 10 list, and this one is going to be on top 10 of my favorite jazz music within video games. Now I will be honest, I am not really the biggest jazz fan out there. Like, there's a few songs here and there that I don't mind listening to every now and then, but it's not something I actively listen to. And I know I do explain this a lot on my channel, is that I do listen to like just about a little bit of everything, but of course my two main favorites would be rock and metal. But since I've already done a video talking about my favorite metal music within video games, I figured I'd cover another genre of music, and I figured jazz would be a pretty good one. But the weird thing is, even though I don't listen to a shit ton of jazz, there's actually quite a lot of video games out there that have a lot of jazz influences on them, and of course, a lot of those songs actually do sound really freaking good. So with that being said, now let's begin the list of my top 10 most favorite jazz music within video games. So for number 10, we have Famicom Detective Club Part 2, with the song Interviews. Now, before I start talking about the song, this is actually a Super Nintendo game that was only released in Japan, and it's an adventure game in a visual novel style. But interesting enough, it was actually developed by Nintendo. Yeah, it's not exactly the type of game that you would suspect Nintendo to make, but yeah, they actually made a game like this. And if I say so myself, I'd say this is definitely one of the more underrated games that Nintendo ever put out, but I think that's probably because of the fact that it was only released in Japan. Well anyways, onto the song itself. It's a very soothing sounding song, which is of course to be expected for a jazz song, and it also suits the game really well. But I'd say that piano piece is probably my favorite part of the whole thing, but either way, it's actually a really short and simple song that it just really works well. And as for number 9, we have Sonic Adventure 2, Event at the Base. I remember when I first heard this song, not only was it stuck in my head all the time, but whenever I think of an abandoned prison, this is always the first song that first appears in my head. And that's probably because one of the times when you hear this song, it's the part where Amy Rose breaks Sonic out of the gun base. And this song kinda does have a stealth atmosphere to it. So yeah, this is definitely one of those random ass songs within the game that kinda just stuck with me for some reason. But I ain't complaining because I like it. So for number 8, we have Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with Clock Tower, and no, not the game, the song. Now this is a badass game that really does not need an introduction, and while it is strange to have jazz music within a fighting game, I must say they actually did a pretty good job with it, since the songs do sound pretty fast paced enough, and I also find them to be quite catchy. So while it is kinda weird to have this style of music in a fighting game, at least on the song on its own is still pretty good. at number 7, we have Knights of Azure with Are You Enjoying the Time of End? Well, I don't know, I think so. Well anyways, this game has a lot of variety when it comes to its soundtrack. So of course it has a lot of rock and metal, which is always awesome. And it also has some jazz music, and well of course I do prefer the rock and metal stuff, at least the jazz music here is still really good. Also I do find that a lot of the jazz music within this game really does suit the gothic look to it. Also I'm going to be repeating myself here, so I do apologize in advance for that. But I really like the piano, I really like the clarinet, and I also really like the guitar that they have in here. And I have a feeling I'll be saying that quite a lot, but either way, this is just a really good song. So at number 6, we have Deadly Premonition with FBI Special Agent, or should I say, FBI Special Agent Francis York Morgan. Please, just call me York. That's what everyone else calls me. Yeah, I just had to do that. Anyways, this is the song that you'll normally hear whenever you're in the car driving around. And if I say so myself, I think it really does make some great driving music. Especially when it's like the middle of the day, driving around, no one else around. It just sounds really good with it. But I suppose it also makes for some pretty good background music so you can talk about some random ass movies and shit. But yeah, as I said, I really like all the instruments here. I think it's just a really well done song that's also kind of catchy, so yeah, just really like it a whole lot. So for number 5, we have Breath of Fire 3 Without a Care, because I don't care. So there's another Capcom title that got released around the same time as the other one that I mentioned, and it also features jazz music. And as I said, it may seem kinda weird to have jazz music in an RPG like this, but oddly enough, I think it does work pretty well. And by the way, this is the Overworld Theme 1. And I don't know why, but I think it might just be me, is that it kinda does have an explorer feel to it. Now obviously it's not overly adventurous sounding, but it does kinda sound like something you just wanna just go outside to. Or perhaps go into a store. But yeah, it's lighthearted music that I do like quite a bit. And as for number 4, we have Root Letter with the song Bad Guy Remembers. So we have another visual novel style game within this list, and this is the song that plays at the bar, and it suits that setting very well. And ever since I first heard about this song, it just really got stuck in my head, mostly because of the piano and the light guitar in it. And I'm surprised that I like this song this much, considering this song is just so very simplistic. But it really does suit the setting really well, so I really do like it for that too. And as for number 3, we have Tales of Xillia with City of Another Civilization. Now there's quite a few different jazz songs within this game, but I think this one is probably my favorite one, mostly because of the piano piece. And yep, there goes me running out of shit to say. But yeah, it's very soothing, very relaxing, and I just really like it a lot. Hell, this might actually be one of my favorite jazz songs ever. So now, as for number 2, we have Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2 with Kuzunoha Detective Agency. It kinda makes me wonder if that's how they got the name of the character within Devil Summoner on PS2, you know, Raidu Kuzunoha. Well, I'm sure if you have played or listened to the music within any of the Shin Megami Tensei games, there's actually a whole lot of jazz songs to pick from. Hell, the Persona series itself has a shitload, but I decided to pick this one because ever since I first heard it, I was like, wow, this song is so unbelievably catchy to me, and it also suits the area perfectly. And because I'm a weirdo, it was actually one of the few reasons why I really wanted to do the rumors thing, because so I can hear the song. And as I said before, like a bajillion times, I pretty much just love like all like the different instruments and how they work together and all that kind of good stuff. So yes, it was really hard to pick one song from this series, but I think this one is definitely my favorite. Now, before I revealed the number 1 spot, I was going to do some honorable mentions, but I found this was a pretty hard list to make considering that I'm not like a super huge jazz fanatic. And when it comes to picking a song from like a long-running series, like for an example the Shin Megami Tensei one, I just want to mention one song from one game, or else this list would turn into my top 10 most favorite jazz music from Shin Megami Tensei games, and I also like to try to mention different games. so it's pretty hard to narrow down some of them. So I'm just gonna make a quick short list off the top of my head and mention games like Bayonetta, Snatcher, Yakuza, and the Dragon Ball Z games. So yes, that's my very short list of honorable mentions. So now let's start moving on to the number 1 spot, and that happens to belong to Albert Odyssey with Mysterioso. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. Well, basically it's the overworld theme. So not only is this one of my favorite jazz sounding songs within video games, but I also think this might be one of my favorite world map themes within RPGs. So as I said before, this song is super relaxing, super soothing, and just super beautiful sounding, and I can just listen to it for hours and hours on end. Like, goddamn, this song is just so freaking good. So those are my favorite jazz music within video games. And I do apologize for kind of being a bit lazy on some of the descriptions on some of these, but as long as you hear the song itself, I think that's what's more important. I just like to talk about music, even if it's a genre that I'm not super hardcore into. Also, I happen to have another idea for a top 10 list involving a genre of music in video games. And yes, it's another genre of music that I'm not 100% hardcore into, but it is one that I also do like quite a few songs from. But that one won't be for a little while, considering that there is another top 10 list that I also want to do that was requested to me. So stay tuned for that one whenever I get that one uploaded. So anyways, what are some of your favorite jazz music within video games if you like jazz? So with that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.